Okay, so you don't have to cover the entire drawing with different textures, but remember, not just in a little tiny area or too few of an area, because then it'll look awkward. In order for things not to look awkward, you need to have more than one person doing it, more in more than one place of your artwork doing it. I want you to think of it as a costume party. If you showed up to a costume party and you were the only one wearing a costume, you might feel awkward. If you go to a party with like 25 people and you and your date are the only ones to show up with a costume, you're going to feel awkward. So, in order for a good costume party to, work out, you need a good portion of the people to be wearing a costume. So it's kind of the same way with creating a collage. You need enough of the area of your drawing to have things added to it in a collage fashion. Remember, collage is when you have a little mashup where you're combining different textures. So if it's in too few areas that it's awkward, then you can add more. And you might have to create more. Otherwise, it's going to look awkward, and awkward is probably not going to be proficient. Okay, so I wanted to show you how when you are adding color, you can of course use watercolor, but you want to practice doing shapes on a different sheet of paper first. Watercolor is exceptionally hard to control. It's only really used best for larger areas where you're not too concerned about the edges of the shape. Otherwise, I would use colored pencils. And the thing is, just like when you're doing the watercolor, I'm going to want you to create your own colors. So practice mixing colors together on some other sheet of paper before you get to experimenting on your drawing. And just remember, you can layer different colors together to create your own color, right? I don't want just the lousy 12 colors from your box used by everyone the same way. I want you to create different colors by combining colors together. Now remember, if you mix warm colors with cool colors, and again, warm colors are like fire. Think red, oranges, yellows. If you mix an orange with a blue, you're going to get kind of a grayish blue or a grayish orange, which is kind of murky. I like those natural colors because when you go out and look out upon the world, rarely do you see colors that look like a Crayola box of reds, yellows, and blues. They're always combining. Even this tape dispenser, you've got bright areas where there's the reflection. You got darker areas where there's less light. You've got, these dark stripes are not painted on. Those are just shadows. Highlights right here. So, even quote unquote solid color objects, this is all just one colored plastic. But the way the light hits it, you get all these different shades. Look at that. That's almost white. And when you look on the shadow in here, right down in here, that almost looks like a deep purple. So, experiment with color, combining color by layering color. And notice how when I'm adding color, I don't space out my strokes. Whoops, that's so light you can't see it. I don't space out my strokes like that. I keep my strokes together. Okay. And if I change directions, I do it methodically. I don't just randomly change colors just any old way. Don't do that. If you're going to switch from going in one direction to another, do it very gradually. So I'm going to gradually change the direction in kind of a like the rays of a sun. Okay? So don't just scribble scrabble when you are adding color. You can also think about maybe where the shadows would be. You should still have the original photo that you're working with, so you can find areas that should be made darker. But the key to this part of the assignment that I'm trying to stress is that you need to mix colors together. If you want to make a color darker, try to be a little bit more imaginative than just adding black to a color. We talked about, when you really truly look at a color carefully, you might see dark blues and purples mixed in with that color instead. You might see, if you want a lighter area, then you would just press lighter. Because the white of the paper, so that is lighter. You press real light, it'll be almost like you added white paint to something to make a tint. Okay, you don't need to use that white colored pencil. That white colored pencil really probably won't make a big difference. You can experiment with it, but I would experiment on another sheet of paper. So once you are ready to start like adding color to the shapes, be mindful about where you would change directions. And that would be maybe where you're switching objects. So if I am, adding my color in this direction carefully, and I'm not just, if it looks rushed, man, it's going to get a rush grade. And you're not going to be happy. You're like, why did I get a basic? I'm like, well, it looks like you spent like 5 minutes on it. I mean, this is, something that you need to like work on and sit down for like more than 1 hour to do. So if I'm going to go in this angled brush strokes for this object, then it might make sense to switch directions for the other object, right? See how I'm switching? I was going this way, now I'm going that way, and that will help it look like that they're separate objects, especially if they happen to be overlapping like this. And remember, layer colors, that means you go over it more than once, so it takes time. Yes, I know. But anything that's going to look decent is, you're not going to rush through. And also, to be creative with color, you don't just use the 12 little colors in your box, because that's everybody's colors. You create colors by mixing colors together, all right? And you can also create the illusion of shadow if you are looking at your picture and see some areas of darkness on an object that you want to try to do. Also, be sure to revisit the presentation of Romare Bearden's work. Okay, that might help you get inspired. And I look forward to seeing an update. That means, even, practice. Like you could show me where you were practicing. It means even if you're not done, show me your drawing in progress so I can be like, oh, I see what you did there. You were changing directions. That's going to work out. Or, oh, it looks like you're kind of randomly scrabbling. Or it looks like you are putting too much space in between your pencil strokes. It gives me a chance to help you improve it. Not only that, it's expected as part of the creative process that you share your work, as been explained. All right, go to it.